Pull up that link I just sent.
I was literally pulling up exactly that, man.
Really?
That's hilarious. Yeah, yeah. I literally just went through our DMs to find it, and
incredible.
had it up. Let me share this. This is we had the same idea here. Yeah. Do you want to read that one out, Jack?
No, hit it.
If you're a small country that would like to be the richest per capita, buy up all the Bitcoin you can and announce adoption. You're welcome.
Timestamp.
2014.
January 2014. Jeez.
Respect. That's incredible call.
Just incredible foresight. And Germany sold the Stone Cold Bottom, boys. You remember that?
Yeah.
Love to see
the
it.
joke is that it's the new Bitcoin pizza is Germany selling the Bitcoin.
Yeah. Why? How do you come to that decision as like a sovereign state that's like, oh, we can manufacture currency out of thin air? Let's sell this thing that even if you believe there's a 1 in 1,000 chance of this becoming like a historically important store of value, why would you sell it? Like, who's telling you to do it? It's the dumbest shit of all time.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Jack Butcher, Trung Fan, Bilal Zaidi. What's going on, boys? Thanksgiving week. And Trung, you have a new laptop. Trung looks so funny.
Bro, look at this. For the listeners, I'm on, what's it called, Jack? Center
I'm getting
stage?
seasick here.
Center stage.
Oh, this is too much. Like, I'm moving around and it's following me. I don't want
this.
that.
This could be dangerous for Trung.
Okay,
if he really is trying to get off the screen for some reason, it just keeps following you all the way to the
tell the listeners
room.
What's up, man.
We got a lot to talk about, man. We're obviously going to have to touch on Saylor again. We have talked about it several weeks in a row, so we need a new angle with the Saylorisms.
No.
He is the main man right now. He's the main character, we got to talk about what's going on.
Angle.
There's a few angles there, so let's talk about, all jokes aside, what's been happening in that world. He's been driving a lot of these massive buys. $5 billion worth of Bitcoin he bought again, something crazy like that. There's some interesting stuff to talk about there. There's also Blue Sky. There's been a lot of people signing up for Blue Sky, certain segments of society or certain geographic regions. So I want to talk about that with you guys as well. Obviously, Thanksgiving chat. And then let's see if we get to it. But the Jaguar versus Porsche ads, we saw two very contrasting examples of ads. Obviously, we got the ad man, creative guy himself here, Jack Butcher, to get his take on that. And we'll see if we get to anything else. That's probably going to keep us going. But boys, where do you want to start on the Saylor stuff? Because this is getting pretty ridiculous now. He keeps buying. He's borrowing money to buy. What do you guys? Maybe we should explain what's happening really quickly, because we've kind of touched on it before. But do one of you guys want to share what you think's happening?
Trung, you got. I want to hear the new Trung download on this.
All right. Guys, I know listeners are going to be upset when Trung goes deep in the cook here, but just stop me at any point, boys. I've already written 3,000 words on this, okay?
There we go, okay.
Buddies, all right, just stop me each point. We're going to start from ground zero here. We're starting from 1989, when Michael Saylor founded MicroStrategy.
I love it. Go.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So, this storytelling 101, I'm going to say where we are right now. It's an $80 billion company. It's a top performing stock. I think they're up 700% in 2024. It's outperforming any other stock it's not on the SP5, but it's outperforming any stock on the SP 500.
Including NVIDIA for people,
Including
right?
NVIDIA.
The super stock
in
of
fact,
the year.
If we're going to do this, over the past 5 years, and I'm going to throw this chart up. This thing is absolutely ludicrous. All right? Look at this. Open settings. Okay, now they're asking me to open settings. Okay, allow. Okay,
so it's people listening. Trunk's got a new laptop here, so he's got
this
all
is
the
why
new
we're
permissions.
a little bit all over the place. Okay, see, now they're asking me to restart. Okay, screw it. He's got the fire. Over the past 5 years, and this is before MicroStrategy started its transformation in a Bitcoin company. It's up 26 times. NVIDIA is up 24 times. So absolutely rocket ship of a stock.
Over how long of a time period? Sorry,
5 years. Just the 5 years. Yeah, just a 5-year window. Obviously, a lot of that action has happened since August 2020, when MicroStrategy adopted its Bitcoin treasury play. So 1989, one Michael Saylor founds MicroStrategy. And it's a business intelligence enterprise SaaS company, which is absolutely hysterical to talk about, right? And now, how did this B2B enterprise SaaS company come into what is now $35 billion of Bitcoin on its balance sheet? Something like 2% of all the existing Bitcoin out there. I don't know the numbers, it's obscene, right? August 2020. So now I'm going to throw it to you guys before we keep the story going. What do you guys remember about MicroStrategy from our chat with Michael Saylor? Why did MicroStrategy decide to convert its balance sheet to Bitcoin? Jack, you unmuted. What's the answer?
Can't compete
With
in the
what?
software business. Can't compete in the software business. The money that they had was just eroding. What did he say? It's like, I'm setting fire to pallets of money.
Melting ice cube.
Like they couldn't deploy capital into the business to grow it in a meaningful way. And the money that they had saved was getting, like the purchasing power of it was getting caned by Powell and Co.
Right. Why? What was happening in mid 2020?
The inflation of the money supply via COVID intervention. What, 40% increase in the circulating supply of the US dollar?
Billions of dollars printed. And as anybody that's listened to Michael Saylor podcast, as we have, I think at this point combined, we probably listened to over 1,000 hours of Michael Saylor, right? Can we actually pull up for meme of the week? Could one of us pull up that Brain listening to your girlfriend versus Brain listening to Michael Saylor?
I want to pull up that. This is an M2 money supply, right? This is what you're referencing there, Jack. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So you can just see 2020. Bang. There we go.
Oh, give the number. Bilal, what was the number in 2020? In January of 2020? March. 16 trillion.
16, yeah.
What is it now? I
was about to say K there. I'm so used to looking at crypto.
Wait, what's the number now? What's the number?
Now it is 21.3.
But at the peak, they increased the money supply by 50%.
7.
$6 trillion, people, was added to the U.S. Money supply. So, again, what Bilal said with the chart and what Jack had noted. And so what was MicroStrategy's operating business? It was making $500 million a year, taking about 10% of that in earnings, putting it into its treasury. Exactly like Jack said, and as Michael Saylor said on many podcasts, it was the Red Queen race, right? They're running just to stay in place. And there's like, this is not sustainable. It's like, this operating business is like, what's the purpose of all this? Literally, it's like the stock had basically been at 1 to 2 billion for the entire 2010s.
Which is quite a remarkable thing to like talk about publicly, right? It's like, we can't figure out a way out of this with a product.
Exactly.
Because they're competing against like businesses
Microsoft.
of a massive scale. Yeah.
Yeah. He's competing against Microsoft is what he said, right? He's like, we can't do it. So he's like, he's like, screw it. The first thing we're going to address is this melting ice cube we have. I can't remember what the number was. They had maybe 50 to 100 mil in the bank. He's like, we need to do something about this money. He's like, what's funny is he basically did what we did. He's like, I just listened to Bitcoin podcasts.
He's on the record, I think, in 2017 saying it was bullshit, I think. Yeah. And then like, he came around.
What's his saying? He goes, everyone's against Bitcoin before they're for it, right? Because it's such a big idea, right? It makes you reevaluate everything about life. So,
Young is so orange pilled right now. I love it. He's Fiat fan full conversion right here.
Yeah, it's unreal, right? So in August 2020, Bitcoin, MicroStrategy announces it's converting its balance sheet to primarily Bitcoin. It's leaving a little bit of cash cushion, but why would you have a cash cushion? That's just a melting ice cube, people. So Jack's shaking his head.
Melting.
Don't keep anything in USD you can't afford to lose, right, Trump?
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. So they
not
start
investment
off.
Advice. Continue.
Yeah, no investment advice, people. But please, if you're thinking about buying Bitcoin, just look at the name of our podcast first, okay, and then make that before you do anything. So they convert the treasury in August 2020 to primarily Bitcoin, and then he rotates his investor base by buying back stock. He's saying, listen, this is our plan now. If you don't like it, we're going to give you 20% premium on MicroStrategy. Listen, this is a piece of shit operating business anyways. I mean, he didn't call it that, but functionally, that's what he was saying, right? What's funny is that you listen to me in podcasts now. I was like, well, they're like, well, what happens if Bitcoin falls and you have to pay back the actual debt instead of it converting? We'll talk about the convertible note section. He's like, well, we still have this operating software business. I'm like, bro, you don't care about the software business, man. So he turns this now. Now he's catching a couple waves though. So he's identified the main illness of society and the global economy, the printing of money. He's identifying it. This is not complicated, people. Go back to the chart. Blah, just whip the chart up. All right?
Which one are we looking at?
The M2. That's it. He identified
We just showed
this.
it. Yeah, the one we showed.
All the
Crazy.
big macro guys identified it. When I was lucky enough to interview Stanley Druckenmiller, he literally said the U.S. government has gone insane. Druckenmiller called this a year before inflation went rampant. And he's just like, the economy's gone nuts. And so Michael Saylor caught that wave. Now, here's the beauty of it. He's sitting on a publicly traded U.S. company, right? And this did a couple of things that he unlocked. We've done on this podcast. You guys were here. You walked me through my first crypto purchases, right? And I am very emblematic of society in 2020. Bitcoin, before its big run up, was still, I mean, you guys were in early. You guys were in the 2017, 2018 run, right? When it made its way to 20K. You guys have talked about this. You guys caught BTC and ETH. Can I get that? Like, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016,
Yeah.
17, yeah.
Okay, you guys were in that. But even then, right? There's large pools of money that cannot access crypto. We now there's ETFs that were all launched at the beginning of this year. We've covered it in this podcast. But in 2020, if you're an institutional, you had a retirement fund, you could not access crypto. MicroStrategy became a Bitcoin proxy. If you wanted to put Bitcoin in your 401k, MicroStrategy was the answer, right? And like, seriously, that was the answer. You guys probably knew at the time. Did anybody do that? Did either of you guys do that?
What do you mean? Why would we?
MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Wait, 401k for retirement stuff.
Oh. No, I didn't do it, but yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yeah,
crossed my
you could,
mind.
I have
right?
since, to be honest, done ETFs in like a Roth and stuff,
Right.
like old Roth, because it's already taxed.
But in
already,
2020,
so
you
that's-
couldn't. There was no option.
Yeah, there were
Because
no ETFs then, I guess.
those
Right.
pools of money were not allowed to access crypto, but you could go after MicroStrategy. The other thing that MicroStrategy went after, it was, they call it smart leverage, but they just want to lever up the Bitcoin. And if you were, as we've seen here, levering up in crypto ends badly for a lot of people, and a lot of people can't get access to leverage the same way an operating company listed on the S&P 500 can.
Trunk, could you
So
just
this
quickly
guy's-
explain for people who don't know why? Like,
Yes.
just really quickly,
So,
like what leverage
are the
is
ways-
and why is, because of volatility, is
Yeah.
more risky, I guess, right?
Totally. So if you're an individual, like if Trump fan went to somebody try to get leverage on his funds, they just look at me and laugh, first of all. But I'm a credit risk, right? I just am. I don't have, like, at a minimum, even MicroStrategy could be like,
It's ridiculous.
but MicroStrategy has it's a going concern, right? This is a 35-year-old company. It has a $500 million a year operating business. Like, you can borrow against it, right? You can get corporate debt. You can issue stock. It can do things, as we will discuss, even now that these ETFs can't do, right? So it can get leverage. The way it did it was it did issue a debt to buy Bitcoin, but Saylor was dipping his toes into financial engineering, which is effectively what's going on here.
Yeah.
He was trying to figure out, because his first notes were like at 5 or 6%. And as we will soon discuss, a week ago, he issued a convertible at 0%.
So just so for people who don't, notes meaning the 5%
He issued
bond,
yeah.
right? So
A
he's
6%
basically
interest,
borrowing. Yeah, okay.
This was his 2020 moves.
Versus now is 0%.
Versus now,
just to
literally last
contrast.
week he issued one at 0%. He raised $3
Getting
billion
money for free to go and
at
buy
zero.
this
And
again.
people were willing to give the 0% because you get the equity component of the convertible note, which we will discuss, people. Okay, I'm so excited because the CFA stuff was actually popping up when I went deep on this, and I finally got what was going on. So the main thing I want to stress here is that the MicroStrategy story to me is he's tapping pools of capital that could not touch crypto before, right? It just could not do it. And this is important because that's exactly what's happening now in 2024. Because you remember when these ETFs came out early in the year, I think it was, you guys know the number, a dozen ETFs, BlackRock, Fidelity, there's about a dozen
It's around
ETFs.
there
right?
now, yeah.
Yeah. A dozen Bitcoin ETFs were approved in January after a multi-year legal battle. Beginning of the year, if you guys remember the scuttlebutt, people were like, oh, why would anybody buy MicroStrategy now? Like, what's like, you can get an ETF exposure. But again, an ETF is different than an operating company. And this is where MicroStrategy's 2024 playbook has gone absolutely bananas. Okay? They identified what we now consider the perpetual money machine. And we will talk about why it's not an actual perpetual money machine. But here's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love for you guys to stop me at any point while I'm walking through this. So the convertible debt market is about $1 trillion. Okay? It's about $1 trillion market. And what is a convertible bond? What is convertible debt? You get the fixed income side. So you promised the principal and a certain interest rate, but then you get to play the interest rate off based on how long you're holding it. And you can lower it with an equity component, which is basically a call option. And effectively what that means is you get MicroStrategy stock if it hits a certain price. And typically when you issue these convertible notes, that strike price will be, I don't know, 30, 40% higher than what it is on the date that you issue. So you're getting the protection of a bond and then the upside of equity. This is, some people want this instrument. Some people call them DGens, other people, there's $1 trillion market. It's a big market, right? It's a big market. It's tiny compared to the entire fixed income world. The entire
and Tron, just so people know,
market.
this isn't people in Robinhood buying. This is normally institutional.
These are sophisticated,
who
hedge
can't
funds.
buy it still, even the ETF. Like this is their access to getting access to the best investment of the last 10 years.
Nailed it. There are hedge funds that have, or there are funds that have convertible or just bond mandates. They can only do debt instruments. Right?
Is that like legally? Is that a legal thing?
Yeah,
or
like
it's just
in your mandate, like you can't buy an NFT with a convertible bond. No, seriously, right? It's like no, but you see what I'm saying, right? It's like you have a mandate, you have a fiduciary dude. This is $1 trillion market ish, right? This is from the Quant Bros podcast that Jack sent me, which was absolutely incredible, by the way. So just to give more color, the entire global debt market is 300 trillion, massive, right? So this is a sliver of that. This is like whatever, 1 divided by 300, right? It's a 0.3%. Small relative to the total global bond market. However, big for MicroStrategy. Big for somebody trying to turn their balance sheet in a way to acquire Bitcoin. So he's effectively found this appetite for Bitcoin-linked debt instruments. There is nothing else. Right? And then that part's happening. And also, you have to remember what's another pool of capital he's tapping into. There's $1 trillion convertible debt market. He's tapping into options trader, which really like volatility. They really, really like volatility. And there's two ways. The easiest way to describe volatility is this. If in an options market, let's say you guys have a call option for whatever, Tesla, call it a market cap. Well, we don't want to do stock price here. Say a 5 trillion market cap in 10 years. The longer that time frame is, the more volatility is going to happen, right? Just because the time equals volatility, right? Jack, go ahead.
Less things
entropy.
To predict that you
can. Entropy.
There you go.
Shit happens over time, right? The longer the time frame is, shit goes down. These notes that MicroStrategy is issuing, I think they're 5-year notes. A lot of things can happen in 5 years, especially when your company is linked to Bitcoin, where a month in crypto land is equal to like 100 years in traditional finance, right?
And like they would be tied to like quarterly reports versus like it's 1 second chart of Bitcoin and headlines and shit,
Exactly.
But yeah,
so volatility
instrument is insane. Yeah,
I'm just saying you're tapping into another pool of money where people want to trade. So I think it is one of the most, especially at its market cap level, it might be the most volatile stock in the world right now at its level, maybe 10 billion plus, right? I don't know if you saw that number, Jack or Bilal, but so it's tapping into two pools of massive capital. You guys see, so if the 2020 story was a crypto option for people that wanted leverage, people that couldn't access crypto, Bitcoin in any other way, the 2024 story after the ETFs is It's tapping into these two massive pools of capital, right? But again, these are finite, like nothing is infinite. So this is where people are a little bit concerned. So let's put a pin there and talk about what's going on. Because now at this point, they've issued over 7 billion in convertible notes. All right. And then that's against 35 billion in Bitcoin. So like today, on November 26, 2024, they're still in a healthy position, right?
And Trung, just so like people and me understand, like their obligation on those $7 billion of notes is to pay them back with interest
in 5 years.
In 5 years.
Right. So that's the other thing, right? Is like if it goes back, if Credit Risk Trung had borrowed money to lever up on Bitcoin, I could get margin call. My lender is probably going to look at a tweet I put. I was like, yo, this guy's lost it. It's like, yo, we'll call it. Right? but Saylor, no, but you identified a key point here. Saylor has that 5-year window, right? It's long capital. So he can manage all the volatility. Here's the key. What is the bet that anybody buying these bonds or long MicroStrategy is making? Ultimately, that Bitcoin will keep going up, right? And I'm going to say something that I'm sure all you guys know. And you shared something this morning, Bilal. If you look at any 5-year window of Bitcoin ever, it's up over that 5-year window. Granted, that's a 15-year sample size. But if you take, I think Bilal sent it this morning, but the 4-year CAGR for Bitcoin, I think it's 25%. And then the 50th percentile CAGR is 15%.
Trung, what's CAGR for people who don't know what that is? Compound
annual growth rate. So you take the 4-year period and then you say basically how much is it every year. So the TLDR, the 4-year CAGR is 26% and the 50th percentile 4-year CAGR is 91%. So you're betting that Bitcoin will be up by the end of this convertible note term, right? So this is like when people are saying, hey, this is Terra Luna, this is FTX stuff, is like they're refined what they've done here. Like this is like it is financial engineering 101 done at a very high sophistication. And Michael Saylor actually wrote, I mean, in the Natalie Brunell podcast he did 2 weeks ago, he's like, it said something along the lines like, I'm slow to the finish line, but I'm a quick learner. It's like, I might be late to the game, but once I figured this out, like I figured it out, right? So, I mean, we should talk through some of the risks here.
Yeah, that was my main question. Well, before we do that, Jack, did you have any other points or questions to wrap that part up? Just like I think people get the idea of what he's doing.
Roll into the idea of like what the moat is here. Like my understanding is it's until other people figure it out.
Yeah, who else will issue? So that you nailed it. What if Apple decided to do this tomorrow? Because if you're issuing a 0% MicroStrategy, Apple might get a negative rate with their equity component, right?
And the funny thing is, a Saylor doing it first is like the game theory of Bitcoin across the board, right? As if Apple says it, they're doing it, then MicroStrategy, price of Bitcoin goes ballistic, like he's first mover.
Or if the government does a treasury, like there's all these extra
the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which we should talk about because, I mean, this guy is just the master of analogies. So actually, let me, I like this risk section because it's going to really help me round out everything I've written here. But let me give you guys a thing that just absolutely sent me. So this is the way he described it. He's got 2 analogies now. So he calls MicroStrategy, so he called it a Bitcoin treasury company. What's the acronym for that, boys? BTC. This guy's so good.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's as good as Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Now let me read to you this quote he has. I'm just going to read this. It's going to take me 30 seconds to read. You guys are going to laugh so hard. Our most compelling business opportunity is as a Bitcoin treasury company. What we're offering is securities backed by Bitcoin. The bondholders want low-risk Bitcoin. The equity holders want high-performance Bitcoin. Some people want high-voltage Bitcoin. Some people want low-voltage Bitcoin. The ETFs are offering raw Bitcoin returns, and MicroStrategy is offering you 120 volatility and better performance in NVIDIA. All right? So he goes, bondholders want low voltage. Bitcoin maxis want high voltage. MicroStrategy is an electricity transformer.
That's the phrase he used.
Yeah, we're taking in high voltage electricity, transforming it, and selling it on the other side. And he goes, "This is you got guys. I hope you're sitting down, and I see you are sitting down." He compares this to the yacht he has in his backyard. I
didn't see this. Go. What do you say? Go.
I have a 400-volt 3-phase power plug on my dock. It'll power up my 500-ton yacht. You're not going to want to plug your blow dryer into this, right? I have a massive transformer to step the power down. And he goes, there's a lot of value in giving people what they want to consume in terms of energy. And there's someone that makes a living converting that power into batteries and selling you literal battery packs for your kids' toys. How good of an analogy is that, boy?
That's very good.
He used two analogies. He says he's turning unrefined Bitcoin and like crude Bitcoin into like refined Bitcoin. So he's using the oil analogy, yeah. And then he's taking this energy transformer. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Very good. But so, I mean, it sounds a bit like a sugar-powered Tesla or whatever he said when he came on our pod. He comes up with these. But Trung, go on, Jack. You got. I
was going to ask for like, Trung, do you have a sense of like the more money in the world is, and this is like, I guess this is oxymoron in the statement. More money in the world is debt than cash.
Yes.
By an order of magnitude, or no?
I don't know. It is in the way that the bank makes money, right? The bank basically can generate $9 of deposit for every $1 it has. So in that respect, a deposit is debt, right? Like,
okay, yeah. And how would you respond to like, there is something analogous here to like a mortgage-backed security?
So
is it that? Go on.
That's a great question. Let's walk through the risk. Okay, I'm going to walk through
That's a great thing to bring up because obviously, what happened in 2008. Let's talk about it.
Well, I think the main thing you pointed out earlier, guys, is that there's clearly walls to how much. He's issued $7 billion, and we said the whole convertible debt market is $1 trillion. So he hasn't even done 1% of the convertible debt market, right? But
context, Trung, the whole of the Bitcoin market cap is $2 trillion.
Well, it's more. It's not $3 trillion if you include
that's crypto. Total.
Bitcoin. You're right.
But Bitcoin specific is 2, I think.
Yeah.
But just for comparison, so it's similar size there.
Well, let's grant MicroStrategy's plan, right? Which they did at the last earnings call. Now they're doing a $42 billion raise, and I mean, I don't know if you guys read it. First of all, the CEO of MicroStrategy right now is no longer Michael Saylor. It's a Vietnamese guy named Phong Le, legend.
There we go.
Michael Saylor's chairman. So Phong went on this earning call and said, we're doing 42 billion. And people are like, oh, why are you doing 42 billion? You can't make this up. He goes, if you guys ever read A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, what's the answer to the universe? What's the number, Jack?
42.
42. So they picked 42 because the Hitchhiker's Guide. And what's 42 divided by 2?
21.
What's 21? Tell the people. What's 21?
21. Everything is divisible by 21 million, right? That's the supply cap of Bitcoin.
No, these guys are throwing this 42 billion number out there, 21 billion equity, and the way they're doing it is at the market, which is like we hinted at earlier, but Bitcoin's trading at about 2 to 3 times premium to its underlying bucket of Bitcoin, right?
MicroStrategy is right. You're saying?
Yeah, MicroStrategy. Sorry, and people are like, they're like, why would you pay 3 times for $1 Bitcoin? And like, it's various components, right? It's like, it's this transformer idea. It's this refining of crude idea. It's like, we're selling different products, right? We're cutting it up. And it's like, why would you pay more for kerosene than you would for the underlying oil from the ground? It's because it's refined, right? That's kind of like the pitch he's making. And a lot of the premium is obviously tied up in Michael Saylor too, in the same way Tesla.
And is it like, just like an argument for like leverage, and it's like more capital as access to this, and I'm trying to front run that capital basically, right? As a trader, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, who else is going to be able to buy 21 billion of Bitcoin, right? So I'm going to get in front of this. That's a great point. I'm getting in front of this because it is a finite supply, right? So and it's only going to get, like the way he always says, right? His long-term prediction is 13 million a coin, like his base case.
Every Bitcoin you doesn't buy is going to cost you $13 million.
Exactly, right?
Well, so Trunk, but to specifically ask though, is there a number from all the research you did? Because obviously all this works out if it keeps going up, which everyone hopes it does. But like a lot of these things, if it drops below a certain level, will the math just not work anymore? Because when it goes up with leverage, but when it comes down with leverage, I assume too, no?
I'm going to answer that speaking direct. I will answer that directly with, first of all, the metric. Have you guys heard the metric he created? It's called Bitcoin yield, which is unfortunately.
He's been using this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
He basically created a metric for people to judge MicroStrategy on, and all it really means is Bitcoin per share. But he called it Bitcoin yield, which is a little
good
bit.
Word, man. Where does the yield come from?
Yeah, where's the yield? Is it a good word though, Jack, from a branding standpoint?
Yeah.
But this is where people are saying it's functionally a Ponzi scheme in this sense. And I'm using that word very carefully because
functionally
it's not a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. It's not because it's out in the open, right? These investors are not being tricked. They know what's happening. So the 42 billion is 21 in convertible notes and 21 in at the market equity issuance. All that means is they're going to pick a date. They're going to sell this much in shares, and it's going to dilute the existing shareholders. But as of right now, because of what Jack noted, MicroStrategy is trading at a premium to the underlying bucket of Bitcoin, right? So what's actually happening, and this is exceedingly rare, while shareholders are getting diluted, their share per price is not, because the shares, you buy the Bitcoin, you're getting assigned $3 of market cap for every dollar of Bitcoin. So even though you're getting diluted as a shareholder, your per share ownership is, do you guys see what I'm saying? It's still going up. And this is where this kind of, like people are saying, oh man, it looks like a Ponzi, right? It's like those things you guys sent me, like when Jason Calacanis was like, what is going on here? Like, what is the end game of this? So to answer your question, Bilal, these are the kind of the larger risks. It's like, have I looked at things? It's like, basically, it touches on what we said before. If Bitcoin doesn't have that 5-year block where it's basically up, if there's a 90% drawdown, it would take about a 90% drawdown for their Bitcoin holding to reach their debt amount, right? And that means that debt now has to be paid back instead of being converted into equity. So that's the risk, right?
You think it has to go down 90? That's quite a lot.
It's about 80 to 90.
It's a lot, yeah. Like,
just do the math.
So he's protected. So could you explain that last part again? Why is he protected? So if it went down, let's say 50%.
Well, Bilal, let's just say like they have the Bitcoins worth 37 on the balance sheet, 37 billion. They have 7 billion of notes. What is that? That's about 80 to 90% draw, right? Like you'd have, and not only that, it would have to go down and would have to stay that way for 8 years. Because these notes are all coming
Jesus
up over.
Christ.
No, but you see what I'm saying?
There is no second best, Bilal.
That's ridiculous.
And hold on.
Oh my God.
Debt is managed. These are all 2%. These are all 2% or below interest too. And typically with debt, you don't just, most corporations, they just roll it over, right? Like in let's say in 6 years, Bitcoin has done an 80% drawdown. He could still roll that debt over. And it won't be at 0%. It won't be at what it is now, right? Like we're assuming like an 8-year bear market. Okay, so there's that part of it. And again, crazier shit's happen, right? Like I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm saying it's not as in like people are just like, oh my God, this is gonna blow up. It's Terra Luna. It's actually not when you look at the numbers. It's like some weird, like some crazy shit needs to happen. I'm not touching this with a 1,000-foot stick, man, because I just could not mentally handle the volatility. And it's like the Morgan Housel psychology of money thing is like, what can you go to sleep at night? If I owned MicroStrategy, I could not sleep at night, right? So there's I might be off on the 90, but call it 70%. You basically need a 70% drawdown, and it had to stay that way for 8 years. You guys see what I'm saying? And then Michael Saylor also rebuts with like, this is where I laugh. He's like, we still have the operating business. He's like, we still own like all these URLs. Like, you know how they got crazy URLs?
Yeah, hope.com or whatever it was.
Yeah, and we still own hope.com. It's like, there's many ways for us to like negotiate with our creditors. But there's no like margin call. They're not going to have to get forced to sell the Bitcoin. But let me read through actually, Geo Chen wrote this. I think you guys might have sent this to me. So this is actually, I'm going
Is
to read
that
this
the
out
one that
loud.
Jason was retweeting or something?
Yeah, somebody
Or
basically saying like,
someone
how could this
raising a red
unwind?
flag. Yeah.
The two red flags is that, no, it wasn't Jason, but this is the red flag. It's if that premium shrinks, right? The MicroStrategy premium to Bitcoin. So the other thing that happens is that the more you issue these convertible notes, the actual strike price of the stock keeps going higher and higher, and it makes them less likely to be hit, which means that the convertible note actually is basically just debt. So that's a concern. So I'm just going to read out what this guy said because this is very instructive. He goes, at some point, the premium of Bitcoin or MicroStrategy will stop going up and top out due to the mature crypto cycle and unsustainably blow off top dynamics. At this point, MicroStrategy's most recent convertible note issuance, so maybe say this is in 2030, will resulting in the issuance remaining debt instead of share issuance. Perhaps Saylor will attempt to issue more convertible debt as the market is in the process of topping in an attempt to support the market and its stock price. This will result in him piling on even more leverage at the top of the market while BTC goes down further and further. The market will eventually catch on that this can't go on forever, right? It's like we identify a couple things. It's like other people can enter the game and that premium won't last forever just because it keeps going up. But Jack, I'll finish up with the last thing. Some in the market will see in 5 years, the MicroStrategy and Bitcoin are maybe a value trap, but eventually they may just have to sell off Bitcoin, which could cause this dynamic, right? That's the cycle that people are worried about. Will it reach a point where he has to sell off Bitcoin to pay off his debt? And that will create this downward cycle.
I think that makes the assumption also that there will be no attempt to pivot the operating business to monetize the treasury, which is they're obviously going to do that as well. No?
What do you mean?
Like build financial products around Bitcoin and offer them through MicroStrategy. And
that's a great point,
Bitcoin
actually.
Bank, you mean?
Oh,
they're going to
dude.
make a shitload of money doing that. With
Best
him as
friend in the business, right?
Yeah.
What
That's
do you
a
mean,
great
like
point.
Jack, like anything, stuff like that? you mean?
Anything, just
Anything.
financial
Yeah.
products on Bitcoin. They own 2% of the supply of it, and they have the best marketer on two legs. It's like
On two legs.
they're-
Yeah.
it feels like right now is like the
That's a good point.
accumulation phase for transitioning it into a like the most trusted name in Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. And because you aren't operating under these like weird mandates of financial institutions, it's just like blue ocean. Like you set the standard for
I
it.
didn't
feel
think
like
about that.
from
Wow,
what I've
dude.
listened to of his, like that would be an ambition, and you can get anybody in the world to work for you, right? Like the change in political climate and his like reputation. I feel like that will be. They must be cooking that already, but like at the moment the highest ROI activity is just buying as much Bitcoin as they possibly can and evangelizing it every day. And that
Yeah.
Dude,
obviously
I
won't
didn't even
change.
think about that. That is
that's a
like
good point.
Jack 10D chessing right there. I did not
we
even
gotta
think
do
of
it.
that.
Well, did you guys watch his clip? I think it was on CNBC or whoever, where he was talking about them making 500. How much was it? 500 million a day?
Right.
Yeah.
That's investment. So okay, this is important. This is I wanted to mention this. There's two tailwinds. So we just talked about the risks, right? The risk is that other people enter this convertible debt market and like eat away at this opportunity they have. So let's say they do the 21 billion convertible debt. So that gets them to about 30. They're 3% of the entire convertible debt market, which doesn't, I mean, that's still not, right? They're not existential to the convertible debt market. Blah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and similarly, I don't know if this is related, but they own basically about 1.8% of total Bitcoin supply right now.
Yeah.
As well. Once they add all
That's
that,
a risk. That's a risk because he's also because there's this is the Bitcoin maxi risk of central
not
it's
being
kinda
decentralized
centralized.
enough, right?
Totally.
But
Totally.
I'm saying by the time they add that, and then if you include lost Bitcoin, that's happened, plenty of those, and then Satoshi's wallet, whatever that was, that like 1 million Bitcoin or whatever it was.
Yeah.
In real terms, the percentage is actually probably a little bit higher. So that I had a question about that. Maybe we can come to that in a second about that idea of
Let's do that.
Is this
'Cause I
actually
got-
bad for Bitcoin here?
Totally. Let's return to that after I say the two tailwinds they have. And I'd love you guys' thoughts on this.
Sounds good.
So the first tailwind is index inclusion, which we've talked about. I think they might be up for NASDAQ in December.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that, right? And then we talked about a couple months ago about what happens if they go in the S&P 500. Because
And then everyone's got it in their 401k
Yeah.
without even realizing.
exactly. Imagine everything he's doing now, but with the power of this index inclusion. And this is where it gets really crazy. Right now, under we joked about it, but FASB is the Financial Accounting Standards Board, and I'm going to butcher this, but the TLDR is that right now the way MicroStrategy can account for its Bitcoin investment is if it declines quarter by quarter, they can basically say there's an impairment on the intangible asset or something along those lines. It basically is a negative. You show it on the down. It's a loss, right? But right now, if there's a gain, you cannot reflect that in the income statement. Okay? But starting January 2025, you can do that now. If there's a gain in Bitcoin, and this is what Bilal was talking about. So the investment gain was something like 500 million or whatever. But I think in the Q1, MicroStrategy will show a $5 to $10 billion investment gain, and it'll triple down to earnings. I want you to think about that. It's going to show like essentially a net income of $5 to $10 billion based on the appreciation of the Bitcoin. That's insane, right? So now you add in all these algorithmic traders, these people that value things based on price to equity, right? Not on the Bitcoin yield metric that traditional, right? You're going to have all these things picking up MicroStrategy. So that's a massive tailwind.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, again, I'm not touching this 1,000-foot pole, not investment advice, but it's mark to market now. It can do mark to market with its Bitcoin, which is going to be some crazy shit's going to happen. So, back to Bilal. Bilal, could you?
Yeah, the question was, I guess, for both of you, and I'm curious on Jack's take as well, being in the space.
Yeah, Jack, you hit this.
Even the philosophical idea of decentralized digital gold, all the things we've talked about, store of value. If MicroStrategy is going to essentially own 2%, let's say 3%, round it up because of the future buys and lost Bitcoin, whatever. Is that an issue for the space overall?
Can't say really, can you? Like the idea that you have to give credit to this guy of the amount of legitimacy he has lent it and the amount of people that have listened to him speak about it and be like, oh, yeah. And in a strange way, it's like kind of unbelievable that there's only really one person on the planet that is pursuing this strategy in light of like the thing that really is mind blowing. I should have shared this tweet to cue it up. Is like if you look at like the valuation of even anything that isn't Nvidia basically against Bitcoin, it's like just complete like flat line to the right. And I don't know, just listen to it feels like it's like this regulatory arbitrage or the financial engineering component that Trung was talking about. And I've seen people write like, even if this does blow up, it will definitely set it back a little bit, like it does have that horrible hangover of like, oh, this could happen again. And
the way like FTX and those things like just left a stain, you mean? I'm not saying they're the same thing, obviously.
But even at the same time, like that, if that did happen, like either that Bitcoin is not in circulation anymore or it gets redistributed. And then the narrative continues in a different direction, right? Like it doesn't change the...
Oh yeah, Bitcoin's long-term. Yeah,
it doesn't change like the anti-fragility of the mechanics of the system, but the perception obviously is like... I did a shit post about this the other day. Steady lads deploying more key man risk.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
like that's the idea, right? It's like everybody's like, please, Michael Saylor, buy another $6 billion of Bitcoin to push the price up $100. And it's like, there's everything is a trade-off.
Or to not dump, because we've been trying to go over 100K and it's at like 92 today or whatever it was.
I mean, you could have had, I think, way more nefarious and like extractive people in this position, Like I think the like faceless hedge fund just buying, dumping,
Yes.
and like arbitraging people's belief in this thing is very different than somebody who's like, this is a fundamentally better money. I'm gonna bet my whole life, reputation, company, everything on it. So like, you know, this podcast, it's been a big fan of Michael Saylor for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just can't, like that level of conviction, you can't shit on it, man. You can't, you just like respect. Just
I love
unbelievable.
what
Yeah,
Jack
respect
said.
for the conviction either way, even
Yeah.
regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I just want to say the thing that Jack said was that this is not some faceless hedge fund just trying to rip. Like it's not like Citadel just trying to pick off points, right?
Right.
Like Saylor has literally. I mean, this guy's 59 years old, right? And I think on recent podcast I heard he said he didn't have any kids. It's like this is his life,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's like, yeah. And to Jack's point, let's say, I mean, I don't want it to happen, but fingers crossed. Let's say worst case scenario, you do go to this 8-year bear market, and then MicroStrategy has to liquidate, and it creates this like 2-month implosion. Well, I think the FTX lesson is instructive here. 2 years later, what's FTX? Does anybody care? Right? It's completely in the past, completely in the dust. The FTX.
I will say though,
implosion.
Trung, just what you said there, and I'm not saying he's even, like we said, I respect what he's doing a lot. I will say the faceless thing, I've always given a lot of credence to that too, but FTX wasn't a faceless thing. Terra Luna wasn't a faceless
Sure.
thing. Celsius wasn't a faceless thing. And again, I'm not trying to group him with those
that's
at all.
true. That's true.
But
That's true.
like, if there was ever something in the future, there's plenty of examples where that poster child becomes like. Remember, we've covered on the pod. We had the president of FTX on
Yep,
of US. On
No good
who-
deed goes unpunished, boys.
There we
Yes.
go. And it's. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to group him at all because I don't. There's no evidence for anything like that. But it is something that we've seen that plenty of times
this is
before.
all
that story.
out in the open. That's the crazy thing. Is like,
Yeah.
MicroStrategy, they have to, as a publicly. That's the thing, right? People are like, oh, where's the fraud?
And you
It's
can
like,
publicly see
different,
what
yeah,
they're buying.
yeah.
It is different in that
everything
way for
is
sure.
out there. This is fully transparent. If it's not, it's a legal risk. That
This isn't
Michael Saylor-
FTX
Yeah.
using QuickBooks for expense reports. This is
Totally, right?
behind the
Imagine
scenes
this,
stuff.
like the CFO of MicroStrategy, man. What is your day like, man?
That's
Just
true, actually. I'm curious who
unbelievable.
it is. And I wonder if it's just a picture of Saylor.
Yeah.
Of MicroStrategy on their board of directors. Now, Andrew Kang, who's this? Senior Executive Vice
Wait,
President
can
of
you
Chief.
guys pull up the?
Is that
I
Pulling this
gotta,
up right
I
now.
gotta do this for you guys. Did you guys listen to the Cantor Fitzgerald? I think Jack did with Saylor.
Yeah.
That was the red wave. Can somebody pull this up? I don't have access right now, Bilal. If you could just.
Go on. What,
Yeah, I'll
what
send
do
it to you
wanna-
right now.
Sure.
This
Go
is
on.
this. I went so deep on his recent. He posted this. This one blew me away. Yeah, when he's talking about the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So, I mean that's its whole other ball of wax. Yeah. Oh my god, dude!
Gilders.
Click on that. The
That was
G-
very good. Yeah. The
do you
Gilders
guys
thing was
remember when he
hilarious.
came on our podcast and the thing that actually one of my favorite analogies other than this crude oil and transformer one is digital Manhattan, right? Is like if you could buy
You wouldn't buy a
Yeah.
cappuccino with a slice of Manhattan
Yeah.
real estate, would you, Trung? That's
well, he's
what he
just
said.
saying it's like, look, I mean, this is so genius for the listeners. This chart says historical precedents for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and let me tee this up. He's basically saying the United States of America has the opportunity to claim a slice of digital real estate before other rich countries do it, right? Jack alluded to this idea of game theory, and I think this 100% is playing in the behind the scenes right now. The first country, a rich G20 country, to make a large $10 to $20 billion allocation to Bitcoin, it's coming. It's 100% coming. How do you get ahead of that, right? It's like, it's going to kick off this cascade of people like, oh, if we don't buy, it's going to cost us whatever. Like the joke is like, if you don't buy it now, it'll cost you $13 million, right? So this thing that that Saylor put up says Manhattan, 1926. What was the price? 60 guilders.
1626, sorry.
Yeah. What's the
60
payoff?
guilders, yeah.
2.1 trillion. Louisiana, 1803. Price, $15 million. Payoff, 12 trillion. 6.3% ARR. California, 1848, $18 million. What's the payoff? $8 trillion. Alaska, 7.2 mil. Payoff, $1 trillion. I mean, first of all, The U.S. government, motherfucker's great at buying some real estate, man. Can you the land that they scooped up? So he's just making the idea. It's like America, it's not over yet. People thought, oh, America already bought up all the primo real estate on North America. What else can they do? Digital real estate. This is the opportunity. So that game theory is happening. I would say that's the biggest tailwind of all, is this tsunami of sovereign wealth money that will go into an asset which cannot be manipulated. I mean, long term, right? It cannot. There's 21 million units. That's the end of it, right? That's the long-term game theory. That's got me the most orange pilled in the world. But boys, that's all I got on this. Very excited. We looked into it. Thank you for all the links you sent me.
Bilal, pull up.
By the way, go on.
Pull up that link I just sent.
Oh yeah, one sec. What?
Check the timestamp on this one. Check the timestamp on this one.
I was literally pulling up exactly that, man.
Really?
That's hilarious. Yeah. I literally just went through our DMs to find it, and
incredible.
Let me share this. This is we had the same idea here. Yeah. Do you want to read that one out, Jack?
Go hit it.
If you're a small country that would like to be the richest per capita, buy up all the Bitcoin you can and announce adoption. You're welcome.
Timestamp.
2014.
January 2014. Jeez.
Respect. That's a incredible call.
Unbelievable. What was there's obviously El Salvador, but there was another country that's been buying
Bhutan.
Yeah. And there's this tracker of like Bitcoin per capita. I'll have to pull it up for next week or something, or next time it pops on my feed, but just incredible foresight. And Germany sold the Stone Cold Bottom, boys. You remember that?
Yeah.
Love to see
the joke is that it's the new Bitcoin pizza is Germany selling the Bitcoin. Yeah. For people who didn't follow that, there was a guy who's...
Why?
Why they sold it?
Like, how do you come to that decision as like a sovereign state that's like, oh, we can manufacture currency out of thin air? Let's sell this thing that may, even if you believe there's a 1 in 1,000 chance of this becoming like a historically important store of value, why would you sell it? Like, who's telling you to do it? It's the dumbest shit of all time. People have been writing on Twitter the last few months, like, if you want to find basically a blueprint for what not to do as a country, just do what Germany's been doing the last 3 years. Shut down all your nuclear power plants, rely on, anyway.
Also, by the way, that Saylor thing from before, the historic precedent, the pictures, I think I sent it to you guys in the group chat, but I was legit laughing. That response was like, what the fuck's a guild? I was cracking up at that so much. Anyway, all right, boy, let's keep it moving. That was a great deep dive. Anything else on that before? I think we covered that quite comprehensively. Hopefully you guys enjoyed
that was great.
The
nice
deep dive.
Thank
you,
Trump's been going deep.
You guys sourced all of it for me. That was amazing.
There we go. All right, so should we talk Blue Sky? You want to go Jaguar next?
No, Jaguar. I want to hear Jack's cook on Jaguar.
All right, Jack, you go with that? Let's go.
Somebody's I've definitely seen like bits and pieces of it and have an opinion on it.
I'll break it down. I'm
going to share it on the screen for people. Are you talking about the ad itself? Yeah.
Show the ad.
So why don't I just share 30
change.
seconds, and then we've got the Porsche one as well, which we know Jack's a Porsche fan. Let me just share this here. 1 second. So this one, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, but if you haven't, you can switch off. If you're listening on Spotify, you can click and watch the video for this one as well. Let me just share sound. All right, so this was Jaguar on Twitter X.
What does it say?
The tagline is "Copy nothing," and so let's.
And
just
delete ordinary was the other one. Copy nothing, delete ordinary.
All right. Can you guys hear this? Create exuberant. Wow. Okay. Live vivid. Delete ordinary. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, the tune does kind of slap though. Get you going. All right, copy nothing. Jaguar, new logo, new typeface. It looks like as well. That is the Jaguar. And just since we're doing it, let me just show the Porsche one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, did you see the Porsche one already?
Just as a contrast.
clean. Jack, do you want to just describe what you're seeing with your ad hat on? Or we can do it after.
Yeah.
Barber jacket versus streetwear there. That little trade-up. That little... Not gonna lie, the jacket's pretty sick, not gonna lie. But alright, so you get the idea, people. If you didn't see that, you can click through the link. We'll share the links as well. But yeah, Jack, you're our resident ad guy, creative person. You worked on a lot of these brands in the past. Did you ever work on Porsche? I think you did Ferrari, right?
Nah, Ferrari,
but I know you're a fan of a Porsche. So yeah, curious to get both your take on it. This was all over the feeds in the last week.
Well, first thing I will say, boys, is not apples to apples comparison in any way, shape, or form. One being the two brands do not live in the same universe.
Did they ever?
For a start.
Did they ever?
Maybe in the 60s when they were knocking out E-types.
Okay.
Like XJ220, I think that's late 80s, early 90s. Like there's a couple cars in the Jaguar. And this is my personal opinion, obviously. Maybe somebody might have a more affinity, but I feel like the comparison between the two and like how Porsche like got into this conversation felt like total luck to me, that it was like a comparison. Plus they're doing a one-off renovation of a 20-year-old car with a massive fashion brand, and they shot a very typical car ad. And the Jaguar thing is just like, I don't know. I think like
what was the ad? Can you tell the listeners that they haven't seen what happened in the ad? What happened in the Jaguar?
Which one?
The Jaguar 30
in the Jaguar ad, it's like just a bunch of like
androgynous, it's
people,
just, gender fluid, 8 gender fluid, racially diverse individuals. No car. There's no car.
Like, I mean, it's shit, obviously, but the people get so like we're in this environment where people are just getting so upset about this stuff. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
Just relax, man. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, they shipped a terrible ad.
Oh,
like people are taking like personal
talk
offense
about
to
it on
it.
a
It's
pod.
like,
Yeah, that's
fucking
ridiculous.
grip, man. And when was the last time Jaguar shipped a car that anybody gave like two shits about? A long time ago, man. Like is it a terrible strategy? Yes. They're supposedly unveiling something in, I don't know,
Miami Art Week.
Is it next week? That's next week.
Yeah, December 2nd. Well, Jack, let me ask you this. This is your area of expertise. Is this an example of no PR? The bad PR is good PR. One of those.
Well, we are talking about it, to be fair.
Yeah, we're talking about it. Everyone
What's
talking
the guy's
about
name? What's the old circus guy's name?
Have you guys seen this real quick as well? Just for people who are
like
listening
it's a dead brand, basically. Isn't it like
people are talking about it. Here's the search interest.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like whatever they unveil is going to get a lot of eyeballs on it, right? So if it's something that people end up liking, it's kind of like the Bud Light thing, you know? You remember?
The Dylan, the trans sponsor.
Mulvaney.
Yeah. It was sponsored.
People are blowing up boxes of Bud Light, and
but
I'm never going to drink this again. Then they just run another ad in 6 months' time, and everyone's like, "Oh, fucking Bud Light sold out again." No, but that actually
punctured Bud Light's. They were the number one beer in America.
Yeah, Corona overtook them or something.
Corona, was it Modena?
Modelo.
Yeah, it got overtaken. Well, I'll tell you.
Moderna beer.
Modelo, no. It's
a double shot of Moderna beer. Yeah.
Let me walk through the business quickly of Jaguar. So to Jack's point, no one's fucking talking about this car brand anyways, right? It's like, Jack, when's the last time anybody talked about Jaguar? Seriously.
I feel like they had this what was it, F-Type and stuff that they shipped maybe like mid 20-teens, and they were kind of cool, but they're just kind of in no man's land as a brand. I feel like nobody's like, you don't really have Jaguar enthusiasts in the same way that you even have like people who go apeshit over a Honda Civic, build their whole personality around like buying and modifying.
Or a Subaru. Man, people love making
yeah,
personal
Subaru. Like there's cult brands, and they're not one. And like, I don't think the tone of that ad is like how you. Maybe it is like nowadays, like how you build a cult in the opposite direction, but I don't feel like you had a much stronger reaction on people. Is like divisive in a way that I didn't even really hear the for argument, except from the CEO of Jaguar.
Let me break it down what they're saying. And I will love your thoughts.
Yeah.
They basically said everything you said. We don't have a market. We've been irrelevant for years. They stopped manufacturing the car. So for people who don't know the history, it was acquired by Jaguar Land Rover, the full brand, because it's both British, right? Manufacturer, acquired by Tata, an Indian conglomerate since 2008. However, Land Rover, Jack, over the past decade has done very well, right?
Yeah,
crushing it. Defender, crushing it. Like very aspirational car, killing the SUV category. Jaguar, as Jack has said, not crazy well.
Well, one thing I should say about Jaguar too is like the E-Type and the early Jaguars are like complete like motorsport history, automotive design history. Like Enzo Ferrari's favorite car ever, the most beautiful car ever made, Jaguar E-Type.
I did not know that.
The DNA of Jaguar is like insanely well respected in the car world.
High performance engineering, right? That's
beautiful,
the DNA.
and like the aesthetics of these things, like the E-Types, the classics, like they're still. I would think at auction some of those classic E-Types are fetching 8 figures still, and then Jaguar side kind of was in no man's land after that point. They didn't really like make a good sports car or family car or find their feet and continue. Sorry, that just I feel like
that you kind of nailed it.
Context.
Though. You nailed the point. Is they're like, we're not doing well. We're gonna go all EV, right? They're spending 18 billion, Tata is, to remake it just only EV, but they're doing super high end. The first car that's coming out is $125,000. So this is what I want to ask Jack. Jack, if you're launching a $125,000 EV with a storied brand, like you just said, Enzo Ferrari's favorite car was a Jaguar. What could you do to capture that price point? You'd probably want engineering, right? You'd probably want that history to be like, this is Enzo Ferrari's favorite car. We've engineered the shit out of this. 125K, you're going to buy it. That's why this ad was such a disconnect to me. There was none of that.
Yeah,
or does
and
not
it's also just like probably not going to be true either. Like EV, like your first entrance into the EV market, you think you're going to put out something that is like great, reliable, doesn't cost a shitload to repair and replace parts when it inevitably goes tits up because it's the first one they made. It is crazy, like the backdrop of EV stuff against Tesla. Like even the Porsche, the Taycan, the resale value of those Taycans is insane. Like
the resale value.
The cliff that they fall off, the depreciation that they experience.
Nobody wants to buy a Taycan.
Nobody wants a secondhand Taycan.
Really?
No. And they're 10 years behind manufacturing these things, right? If I was Jaguar, I'd be like, I would do the Ford thing. You know, where they're like, make a fucking 8-liter Mustang and a like grizzly Ford Bronco with petrol tanks on the roof and like just, like go crazy monetizing all the romance of the brand story. Like Ford, like in the 125K EV market, I'm just like struggling to even think what that is. Like that's like a Model X Plaid, isn't it? Like the literal top
Model
end
S
of
Plaid,
the Tesla.
yeah, that's like a 200,000. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's getting close to like the top end of the Tesla, and it's just like you're not going to be able to compete with that. And,
no, you're right. I agree.
And I don't know, man. I think they obviously had to pull some Hail Mary, and this was a valiant effort in getting a shitload of press. And from the images that I've seen of like the teasers of what they're going to release, it's going to be some concept car that will never get built. You know, I don't think they're going to come out with like, here's a production ready version of something that we are taking pre-orders on now. It will be like, here's this, like, it's why they're doing it at Art Basel, right? It's going to be some undrivable one-off concept. Like it looks mental, but I think like in a sense, the ad is like job done on eyeballs on that release, right? It's just a question of people. It's kind of like the inverse of the Elon thing, where people like buying bumper stickers and putting them on their Tesla, saying like, "I bought it before I knew that Elon was this or that," or whatever like political label you want to put on that. Have you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, even if they bring out something that is undeniably badass, like a lot of people now,
the brand's
like
changed.
Drinking the Bud Light on the golf course. That's the people getting ripped for that after Bud Light's advertising decisions. So definitely, like, the number of people that will know that exists is going to be massive as a function of like how much attention that got. But I don't know. It will have to be something spectacularly unbelievable to like overcome the stigma that it created. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess the other take, like you said, there is either way there we are talking about it, and whatever they bring out is going to be shared now because of the contrast of what was there. So
it'll be memed.
In a way, it'll be memed, and it could do a lot of damage, or it could be something that just in a way, if no one's talking about it before, this was one way to get some attention.
Right? Yeah, I'll pass judgment. You know what? You're right. I agree with you guys. I'm going to wait till December 2nd when they unveil it.
All right, perfect. Great stuff. Anything else on that before we move on to the last topic?
We had one more. Yeah,
one thing. I think one other part of it,
on, like Jack, one of
the sadder parts of it, or the things that people also react to, is like the mark itself, the logo, the cat. They turned it into this like geometric millennial slot.
I sent the Twitter.
I'm going to share it right
if you
now.
Open it.
Yeah, let's share the screen here. This one, right, Drung?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw the one that's like, what? Was it Ramp who said, guess what company this, guess what products this company makes? Yeah.
Could you guys, one of you guys explain what's going on the screen?
Yeah, Jack, tell the listeners here.
It's a 6-up grid of all the progressions of the Jaguar.
I love that you got, what you got, a 6-up grid.
Yeah.
I love asking Jack to explain any visual because he's like, he'll start talking about the typeface and the spacing between. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and they've had this, the Jaguar obviously is a direct reference to a elegant, aggressive creature of nature, and has been a part of the DNA visually for how many years now? What is this? 1957 to 2024. So coming up on 70 years. And mate, that last square in the grid is looking pretty
bare bones.
Yeah, I think it's kind of
could have made that on Canva. Looks like it could be. So I probably could.
You could have made that in Google Docs.
There's some naughty. I mean, there's some naughty stuff going on in there. The upper and lower case mixed. Like the
naughty stuff
G
going on in it. Wait. I didn't even clock that. Oh yeah, JAGU. Yeah, that's a move too.
Faux pas. If you're gonna be, but mate, they're defying convention. Best of luck to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally am not queuing up for $125,000 electric Jaguar, but fair play to you if you are.
December,
good luck
mate.
with it.
Wait till December.
Good luck with it. I would hazard a guess that you're going to be back in the dealership not too long after you drive off.
wait. You want to check the receipt on the 14-day return policy on that one?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. So who owns them? Tata, and what's the extent of all their other automotive stuff?
Tata, Jaguar, Land Rover.
That's it.
I mean, yeah.
So it's not like they're tapping into like VW or something, like a Lamborghini or an Audi or like these like deep bench players with like hundreds of brands and platforms.
And a JV with Stellantis, which is formerly Chrysler. I mean, they don't. Yeah, right. They don't have.
They're not drawing on much experience to make these cars. So,
exactly.
Like, honestly, this is the spirit of this podcast is not to shit on the entrepreneurial spirit.
I hope. Listen, I'll be wrong.
We wish them the best.
Yeah, I'll eat my hat.
We wish them the best. But
I'll eat my hat.
Yeah, I would like to. I would love to.
I'll eat my hat on this camera.
All right. That will keep following you. For people who haven't been watching visually, You got to switch over just to see Trung being followed by the camera. It's so funny. Is it because earlier when you were on your roll in the first segment, it was
so
zooming
confused.
in, and I could see your eyes clock that it was zooming in. It was so good. All right, let's do a quick last one on Blue Sky. Do you want to just quickly explain what's going on here?
I'll do
what
a
is
quick
Blue
deal
Sky,
there.
and why is it worth us chatting about for 5 minutes?
Blue Sky was founded internally within Twitter by Parag Agrawal. So I think Parag was one of the people leading that, the CEO before Elon.
But
took
Jack
over.
Dorsey was still involved, no?
Jack Dorsey, this
But
was his
at that
idea.
point.
Because it goes back to Jack Dorsey's idea that Twitter was a mistake as a corporation. He thought it should have been
What it
decentralized
became.
from the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
He thought it should all just be a protocol, and Twitter would be one client on top of the protocol, the way that Gmail is a client on top of email, which is a open protocol. Although Gmail effectively is the internet, it has turned into email now, because if it sets a standard, it'll just change everything. But let's put that aside. So Blue Sky is one of the Twitter clones that was supposed to hive people off when people got mad at Elon for buying Twitter /X now, right? There was Mastodon, which is super, again, decentralized, federated. There's Threads, obviously, built off Instagram and under Meta. And then Blue Sky was the one, actually, from the beginning, that people thought had the most Twitter-like DNA, because it literally was from Twitter. And it raised $15 million. And it kind of just fluttered along. Since the election, it's, I think at this point, tripled its user base. It's a real thing now. It went from like 7 to 20 million.
Yeah, I think it was top of the App Store for social.
Exactly.
I've
It's
seen
adding
a
like a
big-
million people a day.
Yeah.
A big part of it is obviously
It's anti-Twitter
Elon is so
vibes.
close to the Trump administration
anti-X,
right now. Exactly. That basically all the liberals, or the most online lefties, went to Blue Sky. And from what I've seen, it is primarily left leaning, and it is very anti Trump, very anti to the right, which is not surprising, right? That was like people are leaving Twitter to go somewhere where they feel more comfortable. But what I have seen is this: I'm not personally on it, and obviously I'm seeing it through the lens of people dunking on it on X Twitter, but it looks like it's extremely back to censorship. Anything.
I saw those screenshots. I saw that. To be honest, I signed up just to go see what it's like, because the Arsenal podcast, which is my sliver into regular
Blue Sky.
Yeah, a lot of people in Europe specifically, because these are Europeans. Well, the one I'm thinking of is Arsblog.
Foolish.
They moved over, and he's like, I'm not. He's been off X for a while, and he's like, for people to submit questions. They tried Threads for a while, said it wasn't very good for real time stuff. Now they're trying this.
They'll be back, mate, eating their hat.
I'm sure, but the interesting thing is, I have seen, and even on my feed, I've seen, like on Instagram, I've seen a few people be like, "Oh, I'm now tweeting here," basically stuff like that. So, I was surprised how many people were there. And, I'm not really using it, but I did log in to see. I did think some of the ideas we've talked about in this pod before, though, is just about being able to choose your own algorithm. Have you seen that? So, like, a lot of people, even before the Elon stuff became extra political, it was like people being annoyed about not being able to just see a feed of who you're following, which I know you can do on X, but isn't the primary view.
Yeah, it's chronological, right? It's and like you said, it's less algorithmic. You get to pick the category.
You get to pick, and I think the idea is people can build on top of it, so that they
have something called starter packs, right? Which is like, actually, it's kind of like a Twitter list. It's like, hey, if you want to follow AI, here's 500 accounts, but then it's like one click. All you do is follow, and it's actually very smart onboarding, which Twitter should just copy. Yeah. And I think Threads has copied it. But listen, I just don't have time for another social network, man. It's just like, that's it. It's like, I'm going down with Twitter X. It's either going to go to the moon or whatever's happening. That's it. I'm done. I can't add another thing. My brain can't handle it. I like Jack's opinion, actually. Jack, another social network. Have you dabbled? What are your thoughts on it?
I think I got the usernames. Didn't we have somebody connected to the pod that got the usernames early on and that? But
maybe.
I logged on it once to claim the username and never went back.
Somebody snagged some for us? Man, amazing.
I think so, yeah. But my gut is that whatever I'm posting or care about would not resonate there at all based on the people that self-select into it. So
yeah.
like not a place to spend energy, really. Good luck to them.
Yeah,
buying
fair enough.
Jaguars over there. Maybe Jaguar should start running ads over
Jack,
there.
have you posted on
No,
Threads
hold on.
much?
Wait, hold on. Listen to what Jack
God,
said.
Jaguars, have you
Run
posted?
Jaguar ads here. It would kill on Blue Sky.
But real quick, Jack, have you posted much on Threads with Visualize? Because you have like a lot. You have probably what, 500,000 followers on
Big
Instagram.
IG. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Threads account. I posted a few. Just it doesn't feel like there's something up with it, man. It's not right.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not like I think now that people are basically like copying their Instagram feed over to Threads because it started as a text thing.
Yeah.
And then it became like, oh, do you want to post this image on
Images,
Threads
videos.
as well? It's like, guys, what we doing here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram's unbelievable. I actually think in the last year or so, I sort of swore off Instagram for a bit, and I never got onto TikTok really. Man, some of the content on Instagram is class, like very entertaining, and like a little less. It's a little less dystopian than the For You feed on
although
X.
what our boy
definitely,
said, George Max says it's that grid can still be quite lizard brainy. You turn on that grid and a lot of fitness influencers.
Yeah.
A fitness influencer. Yeah, you got to train the feed, boys. That's the move.
That's true.
It takes a lot of discipline.
Twitter's gonna be X is the GOAT, man. It's the best ever. Undefeated.
It's the best, man.
It's the best.
Good, bad, whatever, man. You're getting the whole slice of humanity. If you can't handle humanity, you can't walk out the door. You can't walk out the door every morning without just like crawling into a little ball. X isn't for you. No. Please come to X, people. If you left X, please come back. Follow me.
There you go. All right, boys. I think we can probably call it here, unless there's anything else. Great chat again. Great deep dive. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
We'll do another 2 hours on Sailor next week, yeah?
Exactly.
Well, after this guy secretly announces like another $50 billion offering. But guys, amazing chat as always.
Great chat. Enjoy Thanksgiving, everyone. And we'll see you guys next week.
We'll do the Jaguar reaction next week, boys.
There you go. All right.
Live on the pod.
There you go.
All right, boys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.